Hey guys, welcome to Exhaust Notes Australia. My name's Salvatore and today we have the 2022 Bentley Bentayga S. And in this video, I'm going to show you what $500,000 gets you. But before that guys, like, subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss the next time we upload cool cars like this. So let me put this in an analogy so you guys can understand how exotic and how customizable this car is. So the BMW X5, the Audi Q7 and the Mercedes GLE are like business class. They're nice, they're classy, they're comfortable, and they're elegant. And then the X7, the GLS, and the Q8 are like first class. However, the Bentley is in another league. The Bentley is like your own private jet for the road. And that brings me on to its competitors, such as the Lamborghini Urus, the Rolls-Royce Cullinan, the Aston Martin DBX, and many other high-end luxury SUVs. Its price tag, $450,000, and that's before you add the options list, which I'm not going to go into because the whole video would be that. This car is so customizable, it's not funny. The car here that we've got today that we're testing is priced at $535,000 in this Dragon Red, which I think is absolutely stunning. So the thing that I love about Bentley the most, or any car at this price range, is how customizable the car is itself. Like what I'm saying is you can make your Bentley look the way you want it to look. So if you want it to look old school, you can choose a very under the radar color and something that's not in your face. Or you can do what this car is and option the black pack, the carbon black, the really aggressive Dragon Red paint and make it look like a sports SUV. So it's all subjective and that's what I like about it. So talking about the front end guys, this is the facelift version of the previous generation Bentley Bentayga, and I do like the way this looks. The previous generation or the pre-facelift was a bit hit and miss. The front end wasn't as bad, but the back was hideous. With this latest generation, they've fixed that, and I'll show you later in the video what I mean by that. But talking about the front guys, I do love these headlights. These headlights remind me that someone has just thrown Swarovski crystals inside of it. They're amazing. I just love the way they look. They just make this car look expensive. Coming to the grille, we've got this huge black grille. Now I do wish this was made out of like an aluminium. It is plastic, but nonetheless, it still looks nice. We've got a camera, front view camera embedded in that front grille, and I do like how they have moved all the safety equipment around the front of the car and spread it out so it's not just all in the front. So you've got the camera here, you've got your radars embedded where you'd usually get fog lamps, so it's a very, very good use of space. And then coming down here, we've got the night vision camera, which I think is a good way of just separating everything. And then also finishing off with a gloss black lip at the bottom. But let me know what you guys think in the comments, what you think of the front end. I think it looks really nice. And another thing I want to mention too guys is, usually on most cars when you've got wipers, you have jets that shoot onto the windscreen, which make a mess and usually come inside the cabin when you have your window down. This has got 25 jets on each wiper to spray onto the windscreen, and it doesn't come inside or go anywhere. It stays there and it's heated so you can get a better clean on your windscreen. That is sheer class. My favorite part has to be this rear end, this quarter here. I just love these rear wheel arches. They just make the car look aggressive and just make it look massive, which it is. It's a behemoth, it's a big car. It weighs just under 2.5 tons, but doesn't feel like that, and you'll learn that later on in the video. But the black pack continues down the side. Nonetheless, we've got gloss black roof rails, surrounds around the window, privacy glass, gloss black mirrors, a gloss black B on the side here that looks like a air vent, which it's not, it's fake. Let Volkswagen do some fakery on this car, and if that's all it is, guys, it's not a bad thing after all. And we come down, we've got gloss black down here. The S is gloss black, and then we've got the optional 22-inch wheels, which I actually really like. I think they look like machetes. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, but I think in contrast with this paint and with the black pack and the carbon pack, it makes this car look really aggressive. And we've got huge brake calipers and rotors at the front. And then we've got this carbon lip at the bottom here. Now, look, in theory, that looks awesome, but in the real world, I can see this happening. Oh, I'm gonna get in your car. Oh, there's a side step. Broken. And I'd hate to know how much that costs. So yes, it looks good, but I reckon realistically in the real world, that's gonna break at some point because people are gonna expect a side step in an SUV. So the biggest difference at the rear in this facelift, I'm gonna let you guys just guess. I'm not gonna say anything for a while. I think you know already, so I'm just gonna wait. It's the rear tail lights. Thank God they got rid of those ugly square rectangular headlights and they've grabbed the Bentley Continental GT headlights and slapped them on this, and they look great. I love this, again, the crystal effect inside the headlights, and they do a little bit of a dance when you turn on the car, which is pretty cool. And then continuing on with the carbon pack, we've got an extended rear spoiler, completely made out of carbon, which looks fantastic. And then you've got the gloss black surrounds, and then coming down to the rear bottom part of the bumper bar, you've got a gloss black diffuser with 4 real tailpipes. Now, this is the rear end look for the Bentley Bentayga S. With the W12, you have huge oval shaped exhausts, which is the only noticeable difference between the two. But besides that, guys, that's the rear end, and I think it's a very, very refreshing, nice update compared to the previous generation, and just makes this car look a lot nicer and pleasing on the road. Now, how do you open the rear boot? Well, that's very easy. Instead of, oh, can't find a button here, you just press the B. That's cool. So let's talk about boot capacity. So you have 484 liters of boot capacity with the seats up. With the seats down, you have 1,774. You get almost a flat floor when you put down the seats, but there is a bit of a divot in the middle, which is quite annoying trying to load things in. And it's not the biggest in terms of boot capacity to its competitors. However, if you're spending $500,000 and you've got more luggage, more or less you're gonna have a butler behind you or someone in another car carrying most of your stuff. So I don't think it's the biggest concern at all. Then you've got a cargo management system, which is added to this car as an optional extra, which gives you 2 kind of elements in the back here to stop things from moving around, which is pretty cool. And then the air suspension assists you as well. If you're finding it difficult to pick something up to put in the car, you can press a button and the car will lower itself, and then you can load it in, and then you can press the button back and the car will raise itself, which is pretty cool. I think that is a nifty option on this car. This is where I'm really amazed on this car. Is that most cars, when you see the boot, they don't care. Manufacturers just add plastic and it's not the biggest concern in the world. But in this, that quality in the front continues in the boot here. You've got this expensive carpet that continues in. The leather continues all the way down the sides here where you would see plastic. Also, the Alcantara continues from the roof lining all the way to the back where you would see plastic. The only plastic in the back here is the rear boot, and that's it. Not even the parcel shelf. The parcel shelf is heavy duty plastic with leather. I think this thing would cost more than your average car. And then the little elements, like the little knobs that connect the parcel shelf to the rear boot, are little aluminium knobs. Like, it's just, the quality is amazing, and it just blows me away. So let's address the elephant in the room, and that is that most of Volkswagen Group's cars are heavily based off each other. So the Q7 underpinnings, and in essence this 4-litre V8 twin turbo, is shared amongst not just this, but the Cayenne, the Lamborghini Urus, and most of Audi's RS models and even S models, this V8 in particular. The platform itself is based off the Q7, which doesn't make this car any less special than what it is. It is special for what it is. Yes, it borrows some parts, and yes, it has the same engine, but it is more than just a glorified Q7. It is an amazing car. This 4-litre V8 twin turbo produces 404 kilowatts, 770 newton meters of torque, sends all that power through an 8-speed torque converter automatic to all 4 wheels, allowing this car to do a 0 to 100 time of 4.5 seconds, which is quite quick for a car that is so heavy. So for all you people out there that are like, oh, it's just a glorified Q7, it's more than that. It's actually a beautiful car, and to share such a great motor from its sister company, it's not really a bad thing after all. That is a phenomenal motor. And if you do want a specific Bentley derived motor, you can pay a bit more and pay for the Speed, which has the W12 in it. The renowned 2 V6s stuck together to make the beautiful Bentley W12. But again, that's more money. And I don't think you really care about money if you're paying for one of these. All right, practicality. Well, you have cup holders in the front here, big enough for a 600ml bottle, plus huge door bins that facilitate any bottle. These cup holders at the front, I've noticed with a small coffee, is a bit of a nuisance. They sink right in there, and then means when you go to grab your coffee, you're gonna pour it onto your beautiful Alcantara and leather seats. Besides that, you have a decent cubby hold in the middle of your middle console. It's big enough for your wallet and your little trinkets that you want to chuck in there, but it's not huge compared to most SUVs. But what I do like is that the center console is adjustable where the armrest is, so for you and your passenger, which makes it really easy to get comfortable. You also have a nifty little pocket here for your passenger to charge their phone, a big enough glove box for your gloves, because it is a glove box after all. In terms of comfort, well, you have dual climate control, heated and vented rear front seats, and then also you can change the climate control as you please through the infotainment system. Seat adjustment, endless seat adjustment, it's ridiculous. And you also have a massaging function for the seats, which again, there's so many options to change it. It's just ridiculous. Like, it's absurd how many options you can do with the massage function. Like, I'll turn it on right now. I have wave, pulse, stretch, lumbar, shoulder. Like, why go to a massage therapist where you can just get your Bentley to do it for you? It's insane. In terms of adjustment in the steering wheel, well, there's plenty. Again, it's electrically adjusted, so very easy, very nice. And the driving position's quite fantastic as well. It's very sporty, and I just like how it's positioned. Nothing feels out of whack at all. So where most manufacturers cheap out in the rear, Bentley doesn't do that. That leather at the front continues all on the door card at the back here, all the way down to the door sill, all the way on the back of the seats. I'm telling you, when everything is covered in leather and materials like aluminium used on every kind of option on this car, in terms of door handles, in terms of the air vents, there is nothing that you can see that is cheap. There's no cheap plastics, nasties, none of that. It's just, it blows my mind. Even the coat hook is like a nice aluminium knob. It's just nuts. Even your grab handle, like the front, is covered in leather. It's amazing. But let's talk about practicality in the rear here. Well, you've got heaps of knee room, heaps of leg room, like foot room, heaps of headroom, and the seats are completely adjustable. So you can get comfortable very easily, you know, up and back, not a problem. You've got cup holders in the center console. Wish they popped out, because when driving, your elbow can fall into there and it can hurt. So I wish they did have that there, but not the worst thing in the world. ISOFIX points annoy me because they're these little clips. I can't stand that. I wish they were just flaps down there, or there was just an easier way to chuck them in, because these you end up losing. So a little flap or just holes that are covered up very easily by a cloth would have been a nicer option. But your pockets at the rear here, what I do like, are they've actually got leather where usually they would have material, which is nuts. And then you've got the organ style open and close air vents that continue to the back. That these vents themselves are even like metallic, like they're metal. Like, I'm just blown away by the craftsmanship with the Bentley, and this is where that $500,000 price tag really resembles why it's worth what it's worth, is especially when you get into the interior. It's just so much more a class above most of the other high-end SUVs. One thing I will mention is down here you have USB-C charging points and another 12-volt socket. But one thing to mention is, and not to forget, is this little tablet down here. So this little tablet does everything. It controls your rear climate control, which you get dual in the rear, which most cars you don't, because you have air vents in the door pillars. So with this little tablet, you can either use it down here by changing the radio, opening the roof, closing the blinds, and changing, like I said, your climate control, or even heating your seats. But if you don't want to bend over anymore, you can easily press a button, it pops out, and you can control everything while you sit in the back. And I think that is cool. And Bentley, I don't think you're getting that back. So, see ya. Just before we get set off, just look at this key. Look how expensive and high quality that key is. Key's probably worth more than a regular hot hatch. Besides that, let's go for a drive. So, let's leave the premises. So, thing to mention as well is the cameras on this are fantastic. I noticed the other night I was in a really tight car park and I used one of the buttons, which is called PTC, to help me maneuver through a very tight car park. You got to remember, this is a very, very big car. But with all the safety equipment and all the cameras, the 360-degree camera and the sensors front and rear, it really makes maneuvering such a big car really easy. In terms of safety options, so you do have lane keeping assist, radar cruise control, departure warning, and all the bells and whistles of normal safety systems. However, if you want guided cruise control, head-up display, and all the other high-end safety tech, you're in for a treat, because that's part of the touring pack, which costs $16,000. That's right, it's a $16,000 option, where on a $20,000 car, it's either standard or a $2,000 option. Bit absurd, right? Look, I cannot stop talking about the interior and how nice it is. Like, honestly, it's just such a nice place to be. I think it's the best, like I've said a million times, the best balance between old school and new school. I love that the clock is still here, so they're still keeping the clock on the dash. I love that. I love the fact that they've got a physical gear selector. Thank you, Bentley. Most car manufacturers are moving to swivel wheels or buttons, and I just hate it. It's yuck. So I like this. So I really like that a nice touch to old school Bentleys in the past to have a physical gear selector. You also have a swivel wheel located in the middle to control all your sport modes. I love these aluminium paddles behind the steering wheel. It's just not, when you're touching this steering wheel and then you're exposed to these aluminium paddles behind it, it's just awesome. It's just, love the feeling of that. Also, there's a 12-speaker sound system, guys, that I forgot to mention when talking about the infotainment system. I really don't think you need to spend the extra money for the more expensive sound system. This does it good enough. You don't need louder than that. And in terms of this V8, guys, the V8 is so quiet when it needs to be, but then raucous when you put it into sport mode. So we're currently in comfort mode, nice and silent. I can easily switch it into sport mode and make this car turn into a completely different animal, like right now. It just changes the car completely. I love it. So not to mention that the car does have air suspension, which does help in terms of ride comfort, and as well as allowing the car to be adjusted depending on what terrain you're on. So the car will rise when it needs to be going semi off-road, which I don't think you'd be taking a $500,000 car off-road, but it will go up, it will rise higher than its usual ride height, its standard ride height when it needs to be. And then when you put it in sport mode, it hunkers down onto the road so that you get a more lower ride and you get the center of gravity lower to the floor. So that is cool. So there's 3 adjustments in the air suspension. Oh, sorry, no, 4 adjustments, might I say, in the air suspension. But one of them, you cannot use it while driving. It's only to access the car, and that's its lowest setting. So really, there's only 3. Okay, it's time to launch it. We're in sport mode. Smash the brake, floor the throttle. Let's do this. So that's 0 to 100 in 4.5 seconds. Very fast. And I just used a lot of fuel. Talking about fuel, so fuel consumption, 13 liters per 100 Ks, 10 liters highway driving. What I'm doing now, 25. So that's not that great. It does have cylinder deactivation, which can help that. But like, you're not buying this car to be fuel efficient after all. Like, I don't think that's a concern when you're driving a $500,000 car. I don't think fuel prices even are part of your vocabulary. I think you don't really care about that. So in sport mode, like I said, the car corners nice and sharp and handles bends like it shouldn't, because a car this heavy shouldn't handle like it's on rails like it does. You don't feel for an instance that the car's gonna come out. It just is so direct in sport mode. However, when you do put it in comfort mode, car does roll a bit, but you can expect that because now everything is softer. The car's not going to handle as sharp and as direct, so it is expected. But it does roll a bit when you put the car in comfort mode. So is the Bentley Bentayga S really worth a $500,000 price tag? Well, if I had $500,000, I think this would be the SUV that I'd be purchasing.